doppelganger apparently talks about travel. Well, he at least talked about communicating with people all around the world. Maybe I can go from there. What do you think? You ready? Now that we have the information superhighway, we can throw out into the open our screams, our cries for help so much faster than we could before. But what if we don't want to communicate or forget how? Too busy leaving voicemails, messages, emails, pager numbers, forgetting to call back. What if we forget how to communicate? When I was young, I felt like the world was as small as a thimble, because all I needed to know was my backyard when I played with my neighbor. And I knew I wasn't allowed to ride my bike far, though when I collected enough change, I'd ride my bike all the way to the local ice cream parlor. Once I was on my own, commuting to my Chicago job on the L train, I suddenly felt as tiny as a dot in the universe, crammed in like sardines in an L train tin can, saving money for a road trip to Omaha, Nebraska. The idea of buying a brie sandwich to eat at a street-side table in Paris, or skipping the nesting dolls for a Balalika in Russia, or photographing a finch in flight at the Galapagos Islands, those dreams seriously seem a solar system away. But as time wore on, I learned I could get myself out to the world through the internet. Now, being a magazine editor, I actually interact with people throughout the United States. Throughout the United States, and from Canada, and England, and Ireland, Italy, Belgium, Malta, Norway, Japan, Russia, Slovenia, South Africa, Turkey, India, Israel, Pakistan, Iran. While selling photography sittings at my job, I've had to learn more Spanish as well. And the last time I sang my song, What We Needed live, I wanted to try to sing What We Needed live in other languages. G, translated into Espanol. Where is he? Que necesitamos en la vida. Nate translated it into German. Was wird das Leben brachen? Karina even translated it into Romanian. Shavan navoy an viața. Since then, Renata taught me what we need in life in Polish. So potrzebuję wieczu. Irma from the Philippines even translated it into Tagalog for me. Magkakalangwang spiritual sabuhay. And about the open mic that I host, Baki sponsored its location at both Cafe Aloha and the cafe for 15 years. So I had to beg Igor for the translation into Serbian. Ono što nam treba u životu. And, you know, looking at this planet, I think if you could shoot an arrow directly from the United States to the other side of the world, you would get to the waters just east of South Africa. So, Francois translated, Roseanne sang, and I guess Francois corrected how you'd actually sing this in Afrikaans. Wat zonden de leeuwen you do hit? Because really, now that I'm dipping my foot into this global wading pool, I should really learn how to communicate a little better. Because now that we have the information superhighway, we can throw out into the open our screams, our cries for help so much faster than we could before. Our plays become computer blips, tiny bits of energy traveling through razor-thin wires, traveling through space, to be left for someone to decipher when they find the time. Over the years, I traveled around the country, an instant message from my laptop when I was at Denver's Netherworld Cafe, or Hotel Monteleone in New Orleans, or C-Ro's Penny Dreadful House in Nashville, or the National Poetry Slam in Albuquerque. And I have a cell phone that I use only occasionally to call people. And that phone has a camera, but I don't bother to use it. I mean, that's what I have a camera for. And with cell phones that are cameras that can upload your pictures to Facebook, all I can think is that it has to be insanely confusing to teach a small child about the realities of the world in this modern age. Because when the cell phone rings and Mommy answers it and then says to little Susie, "It's Grandma. Say hello to Grandma." Does little Susie think that this inanimate object gave birth to her mother? and little Susie might figure it out. And she might figure out what a phone is, but she still has to come to grips with some phones also being like office computers, or being like a camera, you know, like the kind that her grandfather uses at all the family get-togethers. I mean, maybe Susie is young enough to fit all the little pieces together, but I still prefer a camera that feels like a camera with a better lens and better resolution, separate from a computer or a phone. Give me a phone that actually feels like a phone. Because now that we have this information superhighway, we could throw out into the open our screams, our cries for help so much faster than we could before. And people want to instant message. People buy their name as a domain name. People text each other to communicate with each other. People get email accounts. People set up web pages. And you know, I've got a cell phone. And I've got a landline. But that phone isn't ringing off the hook. It's like I've gone fishing, sat on a boat at a lake, put out the bait, and no one's biting. I wanted to get in touch with an old friend of mine from high school, Vince, but the last I had heard, he was at Marquette University. Well, that was years ago. He could be anywhere. I talked to a friend or two that knew him, but they lost touch with him too. So I searched on the internet to see if his name was on a website or if he had an email address. As far as I knew, he didn't. So I figured I wouldn't get a hold of him. And all this time, I knew that his parents probably lived in the same house they always did. I could just look up the parents' phone number in a phone book, call them up and say, "Hi, I'm an old high school friend of Vince's." But I never did. And then I realized why. You see, I could search the internet for hours and no one would know that I was looking for someone. But now, with a single phone call, I'd make it known to his entire family that I wanted to see him enough to call after all these years. And I didn't want them to know that, so I never called. because now that we have the information superhighway, we can throw out into the open our screams, our cries for help, so much faster than we could before. But then the question begs itself, who is there to listen? Thank you.